Hello, this is Paul Ricci. I'm doing my first my first interview of the year. Today I'm interviewing Matt Kelso, who works for FracTracker, and yes, he handles their large amounts of fracking data. So, like a quick view of this web. Let's see here. Let me bring up the website. Yep, I put my email away. So here, this is a map of Pennsylvania where we can see where all the fracking wells are located, certainly in the more rural and mountainous parts of Pennsylvania. I did, let's see here, yep. And I did do let's see here, where's that? Okay, yes, I did this screen capture here. This was from 2020 for my book about Johnstown, Pennsylvania by the numbers. And here I guess we can see that, yes, the number of fracking wells has certainly increased, mostly to the west of Cambria County. So I guess, so Matt, is there a reason why most of them are located in, say, the western part of the state?
Yeah, so there's two hot spots in the state. One is in the southwestern corner, especially Allegheny County, Washington County, Greene County, and the counties around there. The other hot spot's up in the northeastern part of the state, up around Susquehanna County, Bradford County, Lycoming County. So they're just different hot spots, and they mostly have to do with where the resources are located. So the Marcellus Shale and the Utica Shale are both pretty widespread throughout Pennsylvania, in the areas that we see on the map here. But some of the areas are just more profitable to drill than others, and so that's where the activity is concentrated.
Okay, but just because, say, fracking wells, say, like most of like the fracking, I guess, so most of the state lives, say, downwind from all of these fracking wells. So can that have an impact on the environment as well?
Yeah, for sure. The downwind or downstream, and there's all kinds of different types of impacts to be aware of. And one that doesn't necessarily show up on this map is waste disposal, and waste disposal locations are spread throughout the state and of course the neighboring states as well.
Okay.
Um, and those have their own impacts and their own downstream and downwind um, populations.
So, well, okay. Well, I guess maybe for the uninitiated, I realize I should backtrack and maybe just give a basic introduction to what fracking is. I guess I know, well, from watching the movie Gasland, my understanding is that, like they would inject all this brine into, say, the Marcellus Shale and Utica Shale rock, and it breaks the rock and the gas kind of bubbles up like soda. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, so gas and other oil and other um, hydrocarbons are trapped in these formations thousands of feet beneath the surface. And so what they do is they drill down and they basically obliterate uh, the shale strata that has all of this gas in it or all of this oil. In this case, in Pennsylvania, it's mostly gas. Um, and so they pump, millions of gallons of fluid and, thousands of tons of sand and other types of chemicals to sort of pulverize the rock down there and release all of the trapped gas, which then flows back up to the surface.
Okay, and yes, I remember watching the film Gasland. Yes, certainly that was a classic raising awareness of fracking. Um, and so, I remember Josh Fox, he was showing people lighting their well water on fire. So is that still a common occurrence?
Yeah, so the problem is that gas and fluids don't always stay where you want them to go. When you're doing this kind of stuff below surface, it's kind of the tools at your disposal are kind of crude, and so there's lots of issues of migration where gas goes from one place that it does belong to another place where it doesn't. And in the case of Gasland, uh, somehow some of this gas got into people's water supplies, and then when they turned on the faucet, it would come up with the water because of that contamination.
Okay, and of course, if the water is flammable, it's not really drinkable either, is it?
Right. So the flammability part of it is obviously really dangerous from a safety consideration. But it's the other chemicals along with the gas, along with the methane, that are really particularly damaging to human health. Things like, benzene and things like
Mhm.
that that are known carcinogens that accompany this gas.
Okay, and yes, I remember when I was a student at Pitt, like Governor Tom Corbett, he was going like speaking to the faculty, like even advocating that they put fracking wells on the campus to, as a fundraiser for the university. So,
Yeah, that would be crazy to see fracking wells right near the Cathedral of Learning.
yep. But, I mean, I do notice that yes, many of these fracking wells are also located in some of the poorer parts of Pennsylvania, where poverty rates are the highest. I mean, so I'm sure I mean, some of the people, I mean, they're offered lots of money to put these wells on their property. So for many of them, it's very hard for them to say no to that.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a reality. There's people who are for it and stand to gain money from the development, and people who don't get money but might still get some of the impacts.
Okay, so, I'm trying to read the legend here on this map,
Mhm.
and I guess the red dots are they the fracking, like which that's I assume these are different types of wells. You're saying like some of these wells here are plugged, they're old conventional wells, right? Or are they?
Right. So some of the wells are conventional wells. This map has a really large number of data layers on it. If you go to the top, um, you'll see that there's an hourglass shape, and right next to it is the layers list. And so you can turn
Yeah.
different layers on and off
Okay,
if
so
you want
like
to.
if I click here, that turns off, okay, the plugged wells and the orphan wells, wells from historical maps, low producing ones. Okay, so like
Right. If
here.
they have the eye with the line through it, then they're turned off. And then some of the if they're grayed out, then they're probably scale dependent. Some of these might not show until you zoom in. I'm not really sure how this
Okay,
particular map was
so
set up.
so if I take off the orphan wells and abandoned wells, so like would these be more like the fracking wells? Many of
So
these, they're
if you
active.
if you go back to that layer list, um, what I would suggest if you want to zoom in on the fracking list is click off the abandoned wells layer up above,
Click
and
off here. Okay. And click on active.
click on active, and let me see if this one has conventional and unconventional separated. So this does not have conventional and unconventional wells separated. I have another link for you for a different map if you want.
Okay.
Um,
You
that
can
might
put
be
it
more
in the
useful
chat.
for.
I'll open it up.
All right,
Okay. It's
this
coming
one
up.
the controls are in a different location here,
Okay. Well,
and
these have the. Okay. So I guess the ones with larger graph have more wells.
so yes, exactly. The ones with more graphs have more wells, and they're color coded as far as which one we're looking at. But You can also scroll down and click on this thing that says unconventional wells generalized,
Okay.
and that will show you where the unconventional wells in Pennsylvania are located. And
So
so
these
those
are more like the fracking wells.
right now, there's a thing about fracking. Like industry people will tell you, well, there's been fracking for 60 or 70 years at this point, which is true. But a lot of the older wells, which are considered conventional wells in Pennsylvania, they're a lot shallower, and they might have 10 or 20,000 gallons of fluid instead of 10 or 20 million gallons of fluid. So it's
Hmm.
really a matter of scale that makes a difference between these. But yeah, these purple wells here are the unconventional wells. So these are the very large well pads that are maybe 5 acres in size, that use millions of gallons of fluid per well and might have uh, 5 to 15 wells on a single pad.
Okay. Yeah, and I do know like Cambria County, I mean, it does have some air quality issues. And could these be related, at least partially related to the fracking wells?
Yeah, I mean they certainly can be. I know there's a well pad down the street from me, and it smells. You can smell the sulfur coming from the
Hmm.
well pad every time you drive by, or almost every time you drive by, depending on how the wind is. Um, and so yeah, I mean those are air quality concerns for sure.
Okay. And I noticed I looked at say the I looked at at the say like the Pennsylvania let's see, like the State Gallery for Pennsylvania, and they had lots of images from East Liverpool, Ohio. And so like when that train derailed, was there a lot of fracking material on that train?
So there were a lot of petrochemicals on that train in East Palestine. One of the things that was particularly concerning was a substance called vinyl chloride, which is used to make PVC type of plastic that is obviously used quite a bit. But that material is very flammable. And of course, it exploded in a dramatic fashion when they ignited it, and um, and it has a lot of different health implications as well.
Okay, and how are the people there recovering now? I guess what it's been almost has it been a year or 2 years since then?
Yeah, I think it is coming up on the 2 year anniversary of that incident. Yeah, I think that the place is trying to get back to normal. From what I understand, there's still contamination in the streams where people can find oily sheens that still haven't gone away entirely. And then just because of the nature of the chemicals that were involved and the exposures that happened, there's a lot of uncertainty about, what the long-term health impacts are. Um,
Hmm.
I think there's probably people I could tell you, people I could point you to that could speak better on that particular issue than
On
I could.
the environmental impact, yes, and the health impact,
Yeah,
certainly.
exactly. Of East Palestine in particular. But so yeah, if you're interested, I could point you in that direction.
I do know some of these counties are ranked pretty much near the bottom when it comes to in the state. The counties on this map, some of them are ranked pretty much near the bottom when it comes to health outcomes. I mean, Cambria County and Fayette County are pretty much near the bottom. So,
Right.
and okay, so like I know in the election, Kamala Harris, she reversed her position on fracking, and she hoped that would help her win Pennsylvania. Obviously, that didn't work. So,
Right.
so obviously the future of fracking here in Pennsylvania is, do you see it rising even further?
I mean, if we're being honest, I feel like fracking really always depends on. market conditions above all else, including politics, at least here in Pennsylvania. And obviously, if you look to the north and in New York, it was banned a long time ago. Even to the south in Maryland, it was banned some number of years ago. So there's places that do take other considerations into account other than just
Hmm.
the market. But here in Pennsylvania, it hasn't really made a difference which party is in charge of the White House or the State House. It just seems to march forward
Hmm. Well, kind
and
of similar, I guess, in West Virginia, it's very hard to say, well, you couldn't criticize big coal and really hope to win an election there. So, okay, and so I guess do you look at all, let's say, like at the economic impact of fracking? Like how would it improve, how the local economy improves?
so we're an environmental nonprofit, so we focus on environmental and health issues. The economic aspect is a valid consideration, but the industry has plenty of people that they pay to talk about those things. So I'll leave it to them.
Okay. And so can you tell me a little bit about the history of the FracTracker Alliance?
Sure. So the FracTracker Alliance got its start in 2010 as a project of the University of Pittsburgh's Graduate School of Public Health. It started when uh, the department started getting complaints about health issues that were happening around fracking sites. Um, and they noticed that a lot of them were really similar complaints that were happening in different locations, and the common thread was uh, this fracking. And I think a lot of the um, health implications and the environmental implications of the industry were not really known and explored at the time. There wasn't a lot of literature on it like there is now. Now there's quite a bit of studying that's happened on these topics. Um, but that's where we got our start. And in 2012, we moved out and became our own nonprofit, no longer associated with the University of Pittsburgh.
Okay, yes, well, I am also an alum of the Graduate School of Public Health.
Nice.
And yes, I've looked, yes, and I mean, I just feel like, this is great work you're doing to try to at least try to improve awareness of these issues. Um, and I do see I guess you have an office in the Community Foundation for the Alleghenies. That's where I got in touch with you. So,
Yeah, we're a supporting organization for the Community Foundation for the Alleghenies. So
okay.
we have an affiliation there.
And they are also a fiduciary for our website. So, and well, I'm trying to think. I think I have covered everything I can. Is there anything else, any other issues you would like to discuss?
Um, Not really, other than well, I did mention the waste earlier, so I think
Hmm.
I covered that as well. I think that's good.
Okay. Yeah, well, certainly. I mean, obviously, no one wants that waste in their backyard, just like nuclear waste.
Right. And there's not much money for that. The people make money on the fracking part of it when they get royalties, but nobody gets royalties when they're next to a waste site.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, thanks a bunch, Matt. It was nice talking with you, and I'll be happy to post this on our website, and if you and you're all welcome to check it out. It will be on YouTube.
Great. Thanks for the chat. I appreciate it.
All right, I'm ready to stop recording.